All Renault Zoes with seats like these have this same problem. Just like that. You can tell this intercooler definitely was not made for this car. Zoes with the half leather seats like these all get damaged in this exact same problem, even if they've only done 45,000 miles. It's a combination of this being a fake leather that's not of very good quality, the foam being too soft, and whatever supports are under here. When you put your weight on the edge of the seat there to get out of the car, it puts a lot of stress here. This isn't too bad, but I've seen a lot of Zoes where they completely rip through here within a few years of them being brand new. The other thing I really don't like about these seats is they don't have enough bolstering, and where they do have the bolstering, it's this leather, so it's a bit slippy slidey and doesn't hold you in place very well. And I'm hoping to address these issues with this. These are some cloth seat covers from a company called Autom. I bought them from Mixed Garage, but you can buy them on Amazon and a few other places like that. They're very reasonably priced. I think these are only about, I think, €65 or €60. And this is a Sport Plus design. They have maybe 20 or 30 different designs. On the Mixed Garage website, it said that these were specifically for fitting to a Zoe. But now that I have received them, I can see they're just a universal seat cover. The only item that I'm a bit apprehensive about is the fact that these have kind of separate headrests, and the cover I think is separate than the rest of the body, whereas the Zoe, the headrest and the body are all kind of one, the seat back. So I don't know how that's going to work. So let's open this up and see what sort of quality it is. Okay, that's just to show you what sort of fabric it is. Maybe this would be useful actually to show you what it's made of. So apparently, according to the website, it's like 7 layers or something. That doesn't look like 7 to me, to be honest. Looks like a top layer, some foam in between, and a bottom layer. But maybe there's more going on inside of the actual covers themselves. One of the reasons I specifically chose these seat covers is because they had detailed that they were compatible with seat airbags, which Zoe does have. And it says here that there's 2 of the seat back, seat bottoms, headrests, rear top and rear bottom included. But it doesn't look like there's that much stuff in this. These are some of the hooks that are used for the installation. Okay, so that must be a seat base. And I guess there's 2 of them. Okay, so makes a bit more sense now. So yeah, that material there is actually a good representation for what the actual covers are like. They're very, very thin. And then on the edges, I would say they're even thinner. I mean, they're so thin I can actually see my hand through it. So not off to a promising start, but we'll see. This must be the rear bench. And the seat back, this is the bit I'm most interested in. I guess the both of them are in here. Okay, so this is a lot more substantial. Maybe this is where the 7 layers comes in. It feels a lot thicker. There's obviously kind of pleating and stitching here. The material is cloth for the most part, but there is some kind of faux leather here. Yeah, there's quite a lot of padding in there at the bolsters, so that could be good. So this is where the airbag tag is, and I guess the stitching there is designed specifically to rip in the case of airbag deployment. There is some pockets on the back as well, which will be useful for my son, and some elastic. So these are all the headrests. I don't know, are they all the same for the front and rear or what, but let's have a look at one. They're inside out at the moment. Yeah. So I was a bit concerned that they would have to wrap around the two little bars that come out of the bottom of a lot of headrests, but these are just elasticated, so maybe they will work with the Zoe. I see one glaringly obvious problem at the moment, which is for the front seats. There is no way to get this over the headrest. So I guess with normal cars, maybe you have to like kind of cut a little hole here to put it, so you can put the headrest through. But because the Zoe has its headrest as part of the entire seat back, the only way to get that onto the seat would be to tear a vertical hole here and put the entire seat over it and then put the headrest on top, which isn't ideal. I don't know how durable that would be, but I guess that's the only solution. The last detail I want to show you here is I've kind of turned all the headrests inside out, and they're black on one side and they have the pattern on the other side, and they're kind of thicker on the front and thin on the back. But 4 out of the 5 have the pattern, and the center one is just that black all around. So I guess that's for the center headrest on the rear, which is just a bit weird, but yeah. It might be possible to put these covers on these seats while the seats are actually in the car, but I would hedge my bets it's going to be 1,000 times easier if I just take the seats out of the car to put the covers on. So first step will be to disconnect the 12-volt battery under the bonnet. May not be essential, but safety first. And it's just a simple 10mm nut here on the negative terminal. Take that off and disconnect the cable. Next up, slide your seat back and you will be able to get to 2 T40 Torx bolts here. And you can loosen these off. Then you slide the seat forward and you might have to go in through the back door and get the 2 on the rear. Next up, you need to disconnect your seat belt from the seat. So this is just a rubber cover, slides up. And under here, there's kind of a spring-loaded clip. So you can lift this up, slide down, and pull it off, one-handed. And the last step is to tilt your seat back and then disconnect this airbag connection here. This is really why it's safer to disconnect a 12-volt battery at the start of this job. It's going to be tricky to film with one hand, but basically there's a little black clip. You push that forward, it pulls the connector out, and you should be able to wiggle that out. Seat is now out of the car, and I'm just looking at the seat base first, because that is the main issue I want to cover up here, but I also want to address some issues in the back. So this basically is a kind of a one-sided cover. It doesn't cover all the way underneath the seat. There's all these straps all the way around, and you tuck it in between here and you hook it in around underneath, and those elastics are kind of attached to some of the supports and wiring underneath the seat using these clips. So let's get stuck in. So I can see 2 immediate issues before I even get started, which is this clip for the seat belt that I'd unclipped and taken out to seat. I'm going to have to mimic essentially what's going on here on the side of this cover. So I'll probably have to cut a hole in this cover here for it to poke through. Equally on this side, on some cars, this seatbelt attachment is actually attached to the car and not to the seat. But I'm going to have to equally kind of cut a slit like I have here and pull it through. Because these are universal, I guess these are some of the compromises that need to be made. It's unfortunate they weren't designed directly for a Zoe, but again, I'm most interested to see how I'm going to tackle that headrest because it is not a separate piece. So this is under the seat base, and you can see how all those straps attach to this kind of wiring support that they have under the seat, springs or whatever. So there's ones come in from the back and ones come in from the sides. I had cut a little hole here for the seat belt, and also the same over here. See if I can tidy that up a little bit. But progress is being made. This is kind of part of the factory seat, which then hooks into the back there over those hopefully. And then I can move to the seat back. And this is how it's looking so far. Not bad, a little bit saggy here where it meets the back, but not really that noticeable. I'll reserve judgment till the whole seat is done. So ready for the seat back. Quite impressed with the bolstering on this, the extra bolstering. It'll be interesting to see whether I can feel a difference on that. But I'm going to run into a problem very quickly on this, which is I get to there and stops because it hits the headrest. So I have to cut a hole in this to pull it down over that headrest. So I just need to decide whether I do it in that seam or maybe in this top part. I'm not sure what is the best solution. Let me have a think. Okay, I've marked a cut here just in pen of where I think I should cut. And I'm just going to use the scissors. Well, it's been a fail, and let me show you why. Seat base doesn't look too bad. The seat back looks okay, but then you start to get up to here and it starts to get a bit saggy. And the reason for that is it really is designed for seats with a separate headrest. This just looks terrible. I thought maybe that might cover it or something like that, but no, it's clearly a universal seat design, not made for Zoe, even though it was said it did say it was compatible for all Zoes. So yeah, I'm not really sure what to do next, to be honest. I'm definitely not going to fit the other seat cover to the passenger side or even the rear seats or anything like that. But I am tempted to put it in the car and see if there's any noticeable difference with both the kind of grip from the cloth covers, and obviously it's going to offer some extra protection for the seat base. But also this bolstering might actually hold you in the corners a little bit better. I'm curious to see how well that works. So before I call it a complete fail and maybe go back to mixed garage and see if I can get a refund, I seriously doubt it because I've now cut them. But, you know, I'll try them out in the driver's side and let you know how I get on. So, final thoughts. They're now installed and in the car. And that side support does really make a huge difference. It feels like it's actually fitted exactly to my width of back now. I jumped into the passenger side there a second ago to check the difference, and there's literally like an inch or two on either side. You're sliding around before you even touch the bolster. So let me show you. So you can see it moves the bolster inwards, and it is kind of a sizable depth as well. So although it's saggy in places and the headrest looks terrible, I think what I'm going to do is just leave the driver's side in, which I know will probably horrify other people, but it'll protect this seat base. I think it'll hold me in a little bit better. And yes, it does look not great, but at least it'll preserve the seat for whenever I need to sell the car in a year or two. And it'll actually hold me in the seat a little bit more comfortably. So a bit of a mixed bag, really. I suppose my top tip would be to just make sure that you are buying one that is compatible with your car, and to double check with that headrest section, is it all part of the seat back like the main Zoe seat is in this particular version of the Zoe. Don't know about earlier versions, maybe that's where the confusion is. But to make sure that it's all integrated as opposed to a separate headrest, which is just never going to work. So it was about, I think, €60, so it's not really that much. I suppose I could put in the rear seats because I do have a 9-year-old son who loves to absolutely make a terrible mess of the rear seats. So that'll happen on a later date maybe. Slán!